Today's strategic plans and our development programs now extend across the entire nation, from Kaliningrad all the way to the Kuril Islands, from the Arctic latitudes to Crimea, Donbas, and the Caucasus region. By expanding the space for such an initiative, we will be strengthening the institutions of federalism. They are vitally important for the future of our country. I know that the Federation Council regularly holds days of Russian regions. Off-site events are also practiced. I ask you to continue increasing the involvement of regions in this common collaborative work. Overall, for supporting our course to strengthen and develop Russia. Such a consensus, this commitment to national interest is exceptionally important for the Parliament, for both its chambers. It's vital for the country. And in times of historical trials, of global transformations, they are simply invaluable. There, Valentina Ivanovna, esteemed senators of the Russian Federation, colleagues, friends, first of all, I congratulate you on the upcoming New Year holidays. The Russian Parliament, both its chambers, are concluding their autumn session with good results. There was indeed a lot of work. Many important legislative decisions were passed for the good of the country and its citizens. This includes strengthening national security, economic development, and the social sector. And for the senators, the outgoing year 2025 was especially significant also because, as Valentina Ivanovna just mentioned, it marked 25 years since the first profound reform of the Federation Council, which was one of the largest in the field of state building at the turn of the 20th and 21st centuries. I'll just remind you what that particular reform was all about. The Constitution of the year 1993. Well, of course, you are all quite familiar with this, but let's refresh our own memories and those of all our citizens. The 93 Constitution stipulated that deputies of the Federation Council's first convocation should be elected for a term of only 2 years. This was a temporary transitional measure. Then, the heads of regions and legislative assemblies joined the Federation Council individually by virtue of their office. And I must say, they performed their parliamentary duties with dignity, professionalism, and dedication. Many have done a great deal for the country, for the preservation of our state's unity during that difficult and, frankly speaking, such a transitional period in every sense of the word. However, the burden on them was also considerable, not to mention that this so-called dual role, leading a region and passing federal laws, created a duality of status. Where is the executive and where is the legislative? After all, these are different branches, and it blurred accountability for the execution of decisions. Well, we understand, right? When a person enacts a law, and then has to enforce it himself, there is a certain problem. But I believe that we dealt with it, we resolved it, because we felt at the time that it was, after all, impacting the entire system of government. Therefore, in the year 2000, I proposed a fundamental change to the formation process of the Federation Council, so that each region would have 2 parliamentarians serving in the upper chamber on a permanent professional basis. And they could concentrate specifically on legislative work, on strengthening the close connection, the unified logic of the federal, regional, and local development agendas, so that when key national decisions are being made, the position of the constituent entities of the Russian Federation is convincingly heard and fully taken into account. At the time, a quarter of a century ago, it was essentially then that the contemporary form of the Federation Council was truly established. The workload for its various committees and commissions grew considerably more intensive, and the depth of substantive legislative scrutiny significantly increased. As a result, as I have already stated, all regions have acquired greater influence at the federal level, at least concerning the legislative process, and new opportunities for addressing problems on the ground and for improving the quality of life for the people. The realization of its economic potential and competitive advantages, which together form the balanced, sustainable development of the entire country. The mechanism for the formation of the Federation Council was clarified, adjusted, and further developed over time. For example, in the year 2012, elements of direct election were introduced. Candidates for the post of governor were required to, well in advance, already during their electoral campaign, publicly disclose and present to the people their chosen trio of contenders for the senatorial seats. And from the Legislative Assembly, such a representative could only be someone elected through democratic procedures. To elect a member of the regional parliament. This also increased the legitimacy of representation in the upper house. In addition, we established official requirements for members of the Federation Council, including the necessity of a direct personal connection with a specific region. Personnel requirements were updated and expanded following the introduction of substantive systemic amendments to the Constitution in 2020. The entire parliamentary corps also actively participated in their creation. The term senator itself, previously unofficial, was legally enshrined at that time. New powers have also appeared both for your colleagues in the State Duma and for the Federation Council itself in terms of parliamentary oversight, exerting influence on personnel policy within the judicial system and the prosecutor's office, and the conducting of consultations during the appointment of government members in the fields of foreign policy, justice, and the security bloc. I know the Federation Council addresses these matters professionally, thoroughly, and with the utmost responsibility. To be honest, of course, no one expected anything different. I am confident in your professionalism and truly statesman-like approach, and I count on the continuation as before of our close joint work. I repeat, the name of the position, the options for forming the Federation Council have shifted over the years, have undergone significant changes, and not just once, as I have just now clearly stated and emphasized. However, its fundamental legal and political nature, its inherent purpose, one might even say its very mission, remain absolutely constant and unchanged. This is first and foremost its absolutely crucial and pivotal role within the entire legislative process. It is about participating in key government decisions, strengthening the nation's global standing via parliamentary diplomacy, and of course, the Federation Council effectively links all levels of unified public authority. This is crucial for a federation comprising 89 regions. Our wealth lies in their great diversity, distinctiveness, and I emphasize their cohesion. Valentina Ivanovna also just mentioned this. In this lies the creative power of multinational Russia. Today's our strategic plans and our development programs now extend across the entire nation, from Kaliningrad all the way to the Kuril Islands, from the Arctic latitudes to Crimea, Donbas, and the Caucasus region. Yes, we understand that the success of such a large-scale endeavor directly hinges on the actions undertaken by the federal executive and legislative branches of government. However, these are implemented and brought to fruition precisely at the local level within specific regions, cities, and settlements. I am addressing both you and the government right now. We seek to more actively, as I'd say, more closely involve the regions in the formulation of new solutions for the national agenda. And of course, control must be properly established over their implementation. This also applies to representatives of public and non-profit organizations, veteran and youth structures, business communities, local expert platforms, and various associations of citizens. They should be given more opportunities and effective mechanisms to make their full contribution to the achievement of our national development goals. By expanding the space for such an initiative, we will be strengthening the institutions of federalism. They are vitally important for the future of our country. I know that the Federation Council regularly holds days of Russian regions. Off-site events are also practiced. I ask you to continue increasing the involvement of regions in this common collaborative work. Every constituent entity of the Federation has its own areas for growth, its inherent strengths. Undoubtedly, we must identify and actively support them, and this is our shared responsibility, and in your specific case, your sacred duty. Each of you, senators of Russia, is a politician and a legislator. But at the same time, you are all an integral component of the administrative teams within your regions. And you must not merely know them thoroughly, but always champion their interests, the requests and mandates of the people, so that they never fall out of the country's general agenda from the purview of ministries and departments and executive government bodies. Your authority and the public's trust as a senator, your knowledge of your region is a huge honor and a huge responsibility. You must, without question, prove it day by day with every word, every action, through real substantial results of service to the nation and its people.
And in this regard, I would particularly like to note that today in your ranks, as was just mentioned a moment ago, there are 9 heroes of Russia
participants in the special military operation. The Federation Council itself has become a true training ground for personnel. Your colleagues, having passed through it, were subsequently appointed to responsible positions in federal government bodies and went on to lead constituent entities of the Federation and legislative assemblies. I see people in this hall who were regional leaders now work here, and some from the upper house are moving either into government or leading regions of the Russian Federation. This is a very good practice, a truly effective personnel school. Over the course of these 25 years, nearly 800 individuals have acquired professional experience within the Chamber of Regions. The composition of the Federation Council, like other government bodies, will undoubtedly continue to be updated in accordance with the law, gradually, regularly, taking into account the results of unified election days. At the same time, I am confident that the high quality and continuity of the legislative process and the professional traditions of the Federation Council will undoubtedly be ensured. Esteemed colleagues, I want to thank you for your work, for your unwavering attention to our heroes, to the participants in military operations and their families, to the issues of the crucial demographic agenda for us, and to the problems of legal and socio-economic integration of our historical regions.
And of course, for your involvement in the drafting of the federal budget, where all these and all our other fundamental priorities are clearly reflected.
Overall, for supporting our course to strengthen and develop Russia. Such a consensus, this commitment to national interest is exceptionally important for the parliament, for both its chambers. It's vital for the country. And in times of historical trials, of global transformations, they are simply invaluable. I thank you for this.
I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you once more on the approaching new year. I truly appreciate it.